welcome back to Timeless Topics. We are excited to continue our first guest episode featuring Mia Malcolm. Be sure to check out episode 17 for the beginning of the conversation. Mia is an all-around fantastic human being, equity, diversity, inclusion, belonging, and justice educator, and NICU parent. Her son, Gavin, was born at 24 weeks and spent 268 days in the NICU. We get comfortable being uncomfortable and dive into topics like equity, perfectionism in healthcare, expectations of gratitude, and redefining terms like healthcare hero. At times, this conversation may be uncomfortable or unexpected. We invite you to sit with that discomfort and reflect on what bubbles up. The discussion was so rich, we had to split it into these 2 episodes. We are so grateful you are here with us. Let's jump back into the conversation.
Let's add another layer to that, which may be controversial to some people and may not be a popular opinion, because I think it goes back to some of our conversations about standardization, that a 24-weeker is supposed to do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now we've got Mia's thoughts about it being this sense of perfectionism. Now we add in this aspect that everybody gets a trophy. So everyone who wants to do this can do this, right? We know that there are some people that probably should not be doing what we're doing. So what have we had to do in academia and in these educational settings, right? We've had to standardize because not everybody can look at that baby and say, yes, you were born at 24 weeks. Yes, you are a white male, but you got steroids and you got this and you got that. Oh, and you've got this infection going on. So this probably is what should be the best treatment plan for you. Not everybody can do that because, again, unpopular opinion and whatever, anybody can get in now. You got the money, you can get in, you can be whatever role you want to be because we're telling you can be whatever you want to be, right? And we don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. So now we have to standardize it and we have to say, for every baby born at 24 weeks, we do this, and we have to do this, and we have to do that. It doesn't take into account all of these other layers because we have to be perfect, because we want to make sure that we're doing the right things and that we're not harming anybody. So I think we've now created almost this vicious cycle. And that's just my thoughts on it and my perception of it. But I think that that is a large part of why we have so many standardized protocols without recognizing that there are going to be other factors that are going to contribute to the management, the care of this particular child. Because I can only speak NICU because that is the only thing I know how to do with my life. But I think it factors out into many other levels as well.
But I also think to that point, like, listen, the everybody gets a trophy thing is, baby, it's beating us up out here, ain't it? It's taking us down through there. Because I also think that, like, it demonizes, like, the other ways that you can still contribute to the thing, right? Like, G wants to be a firefighter. G has wanted to be a firefighter. You know how, like, when a little kid is, like, little and they're like, oh, I'm going to be a firefighter. And then they're going to grow out of that. They'll be fine. Never grew out of it. This is his choice. Like, firefighter. There's no other options on the table, right? As his mother, I'm like, my heart of it is like, whatever my baby want to do. Let me tell you something, okay? The way these 24-week lungs have been set up for the last almost 17 years, there is not a chance in hell that my baby is running into a burning building and inhaling smoke from a fire. Take him out the group chat. Unsubscribe. He's not doing it. Right? And I'm not going to tell my child he can't be a firefighter. What I'm going to tell what I have told my child and what I will continue to tell him, let's think about the other ways that you can be a firefighter and still help within that thing, right? So maybe he's not the one going out and fighting fires. Maybe he's the one that, like, makes sure that, like, all of the stuff is ready inside the firehouse so that when the time comes, hey, team, there are so many moving parts to that team, to that machine, that he don't have to be the one that runs into the burning building. You understand what I'm saying? Your kid, I'm going to be a doctor. Okay, there are a lot of ways to be a doctor that isn't you cutting somebody's child open. Yes. That isn't you, doing medicine at the bedside. There are a lot of ways to contribute to this thing that we call medicine. That doesn't mean that you push unrealistic things on somebody who's not ready, who can't do, who is not mentally in the. Yeah. There's so many, but we can't we can't do that because everybody got to have a trophy. Everybody has to be told that they're a winner. Everybody's not a winner. Somebody lost that game, huh?
Yeah. Oh my
Somebody lost.
God. Mia, you're making me think of this throwback of a clinical experience where I was working in a community hospital and I was having some frustration with a medical colleague. And I love physicians, but like what you just said, the director at the hospital said, Mary, you just got to deal with it because even the person that, what was it, was the last in their class, they're still called doctor.
My
The
God.
last in their classes. So where's the bar? Like what, why? And why, kind of spinning it over to that education piece, that I tend to default into is why aren't these folks, in these healthcare pathways across all different disciplines really trained, and focusing on this complex intersection of the individual's humanity. And oh, by the way, they also have this disease, but first and foremost, they're a human being. No, it goes right back to the reductionist thing, even in nursing. It's all about these tasks and the do's, and it's doing to. It's never doing with, it's doing to all the time. And so when you come out and you've been kind of acculturated into this, and that was more kind of like the fine tuning. I had been trained to do too, like well before I went into nursing school. I mean, that was just kind of, I just didn't recognize it as such, and then you fine tune that. And then I come out and I'm doing to Tom, Dick, and Harry all the time and never even pausing to think about, I mean, not that I was a horrible person, but like, I mean, it was not in the forefront of
Mhm.
how I would interact with a fellow human being who was experiencing illness and life-threatening illness. I mean, it just feels like there's so many moving parts and opportunities for us to, shake it up. But again, I'm coming to the realization, although it pisses me off, is that's the way the system's been designed, man. We want to keep everybody in their little corners, in their little boxes, feeling the feels that they're having. Because if we united everybody, holy crap, what then would happen to the world order and all of the power structures and stuff like that? That's, you know what I mean? Like it's just so freaking frustrating and annoying, and you feel so, I
Well,
don't
it's
know.
quicker to just do, right? It's quicker to have a checklist,
It
right?
is
You
quick.
can get people through school
Yeah,
faster,
yeah,
right? So you can get more people in the settings that we need them because we know we have shortages across the board, right? So let's get them through school as quick as we can. Let's get as many schools up and running as we can, and you teach them. Here's the algorithm, right? Don't teach anything else. We don't have time to teach anything else. You got 9 months to get through this program and get out there and be working, right? You can see more patients if you've got a checklist. If you actually stop, sit, and talk to your patient, nobody got time for that, right? When I have 22 neonatal patients to care for, I don't have time to sit down and talk to their families and say, "Hi, Miss Smith, how's it going today?" And really want to hear, not a quick, "Yep, I'm good," right? Because usually as I'm running, "Hi, good morning, how are you? Great, love to hear that," right? I don't have time for Miss Smith to say to me, "I'm not okay. Things are not well. I need you to tell me, like head to toe, what is going on with my child." Nobody has time for that, right? Because we only have 4 NPs on duty and we've got a unit of 90 babies. So I don't have time for that.
yeah.
And so that's what's happened, right? And it's just going to continue to happen. And now I also think from a generational standpoint, as we're seeing AI come up, Chat
Ooh,
GPT, tell
yeah,
me how I'm supposed to manage this, right? I don't even
Yeah,
have to think anymore.
yeah.
Chat GPT is going to tell me everything I need to know. And I trust Chat GPT because it's a computer, right?
Yeah.
I
Again,
was
I think
talking,
my 3-year-old grandchild could say, "Siri, tell me," and Siri would tell her, and she'd run off and
babe,
do. And it's like,
listen
wait a
to
minute.
me. Because the way Gavin every morning, Alexa, I'm like, but if you don't stop talking to that daggone ball in that room, stop talking to her.
I was talking to a neonatologist and we were talking about like a pneumo. And she was like, it was really subtle because, sometimes they're like, hello, I'm a pneumo. And sometimes you're like, I don't know, is it? And it was one of those, I don't know, is it's right. And she goes, and so I was sitting there, I was looking at it. And I was like, I guess so. Like, let's, start doing the things, right? She goes, but then I turned to my resident and he goes, oh, I put it in Chat GPT. Yeah, it is.
And I was like, first of all, ChatGPT is not HIPAA compliant. So did you protect that patient's health information? Because you have no consent to send screenshots, including MRN numbers, into someone's, ChatGPT server. That is not a thing, right? And you've already done it, right? Without asking. And it's a neonatal patient, so they can't consent. And you didn't ask the parent. But these systems are smart. So sooner or later in those general hospital consents, there's going to be something in there that says, hey, we're going to ask all the robots about you and you don't got a choice. Okay, cool. We good? Right. And it's just scary how it goes. Because in some ways, it's like, oh, it's kind of cool. It's nice, like that we kind of like the internet, right? Like it's full of wonderful things and terrible things. And you have to have a person's brain to be able to decide which is good and which is bad, right? But when you look at something as being just like wholesale a benefit, then you end up with it taking over. And now you have all the environmental crises that we have and humanitarian crises in the sense that they're taking over communities and servers are noise pollution and all of these other things. And you're like, why are we doing this? For what? Is this really truly benefiting us in the end?
Mm-hmm.
And I would argue that it's not, right? That it's kind of removing ourselves even further from our own humanity, let alone seeing humanity in someone else. Kind of something that was said earlier reminded me of a conversation I had yesterday about like how we were talking about standardization, kind of the creep of it, right? And it's happening in education too, to Tracy's point. But even on the clinical ed side, everybody wants simulation. Something's wrong, simulation. And I was like, that's not the best way to address this particular problem. Look, girl, I love me some sim. I can write it. I love it. It's one of my favorite things to do. But you have to use the right tool for the job, right? And I was like, okay, I can create sims for you. Do you have your process ironed out? Oh, no, we don't need that. Oh, yeah, you do, right? Like I need to know what the process is so that I can create a sim that reinforces the process that you're expecting. Oh, no, we'll figure it out as you go. Oh, no, Jesse Barnes is not going to do that. You're going to give me the process and then I will write you a damn good sim about it that they're all going to love, but I'm not doing it blind. And then they get mad at me because I'm holding up progress because I refuse to do sim because you haven't done your part yet to figure out what's the process. Because if it's a code, the first thing they're going to ask is, well, how do I call the team? I don't know. Smoke signals? No one's told me. We have no way to do it, right? So you can send somebody Paul Revering down the hallway to find a neonatologist? Like, what are you going to do? That is a simple answer that I need to even start developing the sim. And but then like you said, like you just kind of you're put in a box as being difficult because you're the one that's asking questions. That means that we actually can't move forward with this until some of these foundational things are addressed.
But I think all of it is circling back to like the humanity part, right? Like all of it is about, because there's nothing wrong with texting. I love a good text. I love a good text over many things. But all of the kids, all of the not even kids, because a lot of them are adults now, right? All of the human people who grew up where like texting was booming don't know how to have face-to-face conversations. They don't even know how to call somebody on the phone and just be like, hey, I have a question about, because it's easier for them to just text you because it feels like a more comfortable thing. But you know what text lacks? It lacks nuance. It lacks voice inflection. It lacks all the things that you can get from a conversation of hearing somebody's voice. It lacks that thing. I don't have a problem with the internet. I grew up with the internet. When the internet was introduced, I was a youth, right? So I came up through the whole thing. There's not a problem with the internet. The internet lacks nuance.
Yes.
Right? The internet lacks nuance. When you're putting a comment underneath somebody's post on whatever, it lacks nuance, which is where miscommunication comes in. Same issue with text messaging. I don't have a beef with AI. It's here. It's fine. Whatever, bro. I'm not gonna fight about it, right? But it lacks nuance. It lacks the thing that we have that a computer can't have. The ability to have a nuanced conversation, to add context to a thing, right? I don't have a problem with task lists and all of those things, but all of that lacks the nuance of a human experience. because you can't task list me into being healthy. That's not how it happens.
Yeah.
Because if you do all of your tasks, it's not going to make me ready to go at the end of this NICU stay. It's not.
Yeah.
What's going to make me ready to go is you understanding whether or not I have the resources in order to do all the things that are now on my task list after we leave here, right? Like we've let go of so much humanity in all of the spaces where humanity should be the most important thing. It should be the thing at the center, but we've let it go. So now sitting at the center is this gaping hole, and we keep trying to plug it with things that are human centered. Equity is a human centered concept, and we're trying to plug a humanity hole with a human centered concept. And people they can't, it's why they can't wrap their brains around it, because they've been taught to let go of that part of it.
Yeah.
They've been like, we've been doing that since the beginning of the whole thing. It's why when you're like, what would happen if all the people came together? They don't want to know, which is why they've been intentionally setting it up so that never happens. It's why when Irish immigrants came to this country, they were like, you want to be Irish and be with them on this revolution thing, or you want to be white and be protected? Make a choice.
Yeah. Yeah. You're absolutely right. And the disconnection piece just keeps feeding that machine, right? I mean, so keep giving folks shiny, distracting objects, and that hole that you described just gets bigger and bigger and bigger because we become more and more disconnected. And the more disconnected I am from any base or any community or even one individual, like maybe my nurse, the more disconnected I feel, the more, I mean, I hate to say this, but it feels like the more powerless I become and become more malleable to the larger system. I'm not going to ask the questions because I'm scared, I'm isolated, I'm overwhelmed. So my cortex is offline. So you get to do whatever the hell you want to me, whether I'm in a healthcare situation or I'm in the United States of America or wherever the hell I am. And you're right. I mean, and so it feels like you need to get hot on that TED Talk so we can really get some inspired individuals back online and figure out ways of, you can text and make a conversation, right? I'm not, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, but really come back together and figure out where are we missing the magic that can really change people's lives in meaningful ways. How can we hook up ego and compassion and let them at least try and start dating? I don't know.
But we can't, because ego tells you that compassion is not necessary. Because the most important thing in that room, ego is what keeps healthcare providers in this space, that they are the headline. In every space they enter, they are the headline. It should only be about how this doctor saved my life. It should only be about my gratitude towards this clinician. It should only be about the people who did the thing and how grateful I am and how my life was forever changed. It's not about the baby that came out of that situation. The baby is not the headline. The family is not, how this family navigated and persevered through this unbelievable situation. That's not the headline. The headline is all the healthcare heroes. They're the headline. My child is a healthcare hero. Hello?
Yes.
Be very clear. His mama is a healthcare hero.
Yes.
I put in time in that institution. I put in hard time. Right? But that's not the headline.
Yeah.
The headline are these people who did this miraculous, amazing. If you think about it, the people who did this miraculous, amazing, life-saving thing, for me and my story, that's my child.
Yes.
That's me. It doesn't start with, and it doesn't mean I'm not grateful and like so thankful to all of those people, because I am, but they are not the headline in my story. They shouldn't be the headline in anybody's story, because to the point that me and Jesse talk about all the time, you're at work.
Right.
You signed up for this.
Yes.
You trained for this. You went into debt That's how much you believed in the thing that you were going. You say, I'm willing to go into debt about it.
Yeah.
You made a choice to do a thing. And now if I don't give you kudos and snuggles and tell you how amazing your choice was, I'm somehow a demon. I didn't want this.
Yeah.
I didn't. I never wanted to know any of you. It was not in my plan. Like if I looked at my life's plan,
Yeah.
my life's plan was never to know anybody inside the walls of that hospital, to know what a NICU was, to know. I don't want to know what BPD is. I don't. It wasn't in my plan. I
Yeah.
didn't want this. You did. So why do you also get to be the headline for a choice that you made?
Now saying like we get supporting actor roles at best, right? Like we are there to support the development of a family and a baby in crisis. And we can help them through that or we can hurt them through that. That's our choice, right? But we can't lead it. We aren't the ones being impacted by that choice. We are learning from it. Two things can be true, right? Like I'm still having my own story here, which is just as meaningful, but it's not more meaningful than.
Right.
So to me, how do we get them to talk is maybe we don't get them to talk, but we get ego to be dismantled. We get it to kind of start to take it away so that compassion can then rise up and say, hey, I got an idea, right? Because it's there in the background being like, pick me, hello, I can do this, right? Put me in, coach, kind of thing. But ego's like, no, I'm good. I don't need you because I MVP every day, all day, me, right? And so there's no reason to ask for compassion. But that's why when you do meet somebody clinician wise that is in alignment with that, you're like, oh, look at this person. Like everybody should be like this. And you're like, we don't want to know something really wild? You could be. Like it's possible. We could do this. We just have to put down some things so that we can pick up other things.
I think it takes us back to our very first podcast when we started thinking about what was the intent, right? And the intent to sit and have this conversation. Because in hearing you all, I can tell you that I've picked up so many things that I'm going to bring up in lectures and in discussions with my students, because I don't think you can teach that. But I think the more you talk about it, hopefully the more people start to say, huh, interesting, right? And they start to be insightful enough to say, I need to control my ego and really bring up that compassion, right? I can't give you a lecture on it. I can't pull the articles. I can't, right? But I can talk about it, right? And I will tell you that for me and mine, the tiniest human being on this planet has really humbled me in many a settings where I thought, oh, I'm in control of this, right? And this little 400 grammer will look at you and say, oh, are you? Watch this. Right? And it's like, oh, I'm reassessing my life choices, right? Because you beat me down and you really showed me who was the boss. So I always tell my parents, I'm just here. Your child is the boss of every single thing happening. They are driving every single ship that we are putting through this channel. I'm just here. And whatever they tell me to do, I am going to jump. I am going to do. So please don't thank me, because I know that on a dime, your child can have me on the floor in fetal position, myself crying. Right? So, hey, yo, I have much
To this
respect to
day.
them.
To
Right?
this day. I've been listening. I think that's where the thing comes from, is that like it feels like we're living in completely different universes when you're in the hospital. Like being in the NICU as a parent, it felt like I was on a different planet than the people who were tasked with helping me through this journey. Because I from day one was very clear about who was in charge of this situation. I knew that it was not me, because if it was me, we would not be here. Hello? My choice was not 24 weeks. Gavin said, I'm going to head out. I'm ready to do this thing. So I'm going to go introduce myself to the world. That was not my choice. If it had been me in control, if I was in charge of this, we would not be here. So I felt very clear from day dot who was steering this ship, and that I was a passenger. On my best day, almost 17 years later, I am still that boy's co-pilot. I am his co-pilot. He is flying this plane because whatever the decision is, I just have to be able to react, to help us course correct, to help us whatever the thing is. This is his life. It's not mine.
Yeah.
I am his co-pilot at best. So if he is the pilot and I am the co-pilot, everybody else, y'all are the crew on this plane. You are not in charge of what happens in this space. You're not. It's not your business, it's not your job.
Yeah.
Your job is to live up to that oath that you took in whichever way, but in every single healthcare space, that oath always sums up to first do no harm.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
So if first do no harm means you have to wait until the plane is stable in order to do the drink and the beverage service, then you wait.
Yeah.
Then you wait. You wait to extubate that baby until the pilot says, I think I'm ready.
Yeah.
I think I got this. And if you do that thing and there's some turbulence, then we course correct. We course correct. But you don't get to decide what that is. There's somebody who's in the pilot, who's got the pilot thing already, and it's not you. And I think that's really hard. That's a really hard concept for people who have been idolized and put on this pedestal. And again, it's not to say that they don't do great work.
Yes.
It is not to say that. It is not to say Gavin's ENT for the rest of my life. If that man needed a kidney, I would give it to him because he saved Gavin's life in a way that
Yeah.
But he's also not the main character in this story, no matter how great his supporting performance was.
Yeah.
He had a great supporting role. Oscar worthy, if you will.
Yeah.
It still don't make him more important
Yes.
than the main character. The story's about Gavin, so how is it that you get?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think again, but that's a human thing to understand that I don't need to be the hero. I don't need to be the main thing. I don't need to be. What's the point? What was the intention of this thing? What was the intention of you coming to work today? Was it to be the hero and the main character, or was it to help somebody have the ending to the story that they want to have? Is it to help them get to the end of their story the way they want to get there? Because if your intention was to be the hero, baby, you need to go reevaluate. Because every day you show up trying to be the hero, I guarantee you're the villain in more people's story than you ever are the hero.
Oh God, that's good.
Right? I
True or not?
love that.
Is that
Like,
true or not, though? Like, that's
Oh.
facts, bro.
Is
You showed up, you got a cape on, you got a wind machine, you're ready to do the whole thing. And there are more people leaving in that unit who are looking at you like you are a villain than are even acknowledging the fact that you got a cape and a wind machine and you're like in the pose. Baby, don't nobody care about that.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
Yeah.
It really is like, I just don't think that people understand that, like, if your goal is to only be celebrated, you are going to live a very disappointed life.
Yeah.
Because if you live by that applause, you will die by it too. Because as soon as somebody does not clap, you might not see everybody. There could be 1,000 people standing up doing this. You're only going to always focus on the one person whose hands are in their pocket because you will die by that applause. You need it. It is the thing that fuels you. That can't be it.
Yeah.
That can't be it, because when people are in a trauma space, they don't have capacity to clap for you, baby.
Yeah.
They don't have it.
Yeah.
They do not have it. And it should not be required of them.
Right.
Because you're also not clapping for them, not in a way that's genuine.
Mm-hmm.
Because look at what they did. They showed up today too. My goodness, do you understand? And again, I don't think that I don't wish the NICU on anybody. I don't. I don't wish a pediatric hospital on any human person. I don't, obviously the whole thing, but like that thing, I don't wish it on you. But if you understood, like on a cellular level, if you understood what it took to show up, every day in that place as somebody's parent, as somebody's grandparent, as somebody's auntie, cousin, loved one, whatever that title is, if you understood what it took to show up there every single day and hear the shit that we had to hear, have to hear, to endure, to make the decisions, to have the mental wherewithal to do that thing. If you understood what that was, I promise you, you wouldn't be looking for applause from that person. You would be, how can I better serve them? How can I better support them? How can I look at them and say, that whatever that outburst that angry parent, whatever that was, that's coming from somewhere.
Right.
What do they need from me in this space? Let me get out the way. What do they need? What do they need? Because you understand what it took for them to get there, to be sitting there, to wake up and have their baby still fighting for their life, and it's nothing I can do. But I understand that my role as a parent is to help and protect my child. And I can't do any of that. And I'm still here though. I'm still showing up. I'm still trying to put on a brave face. I'm still calling all my people, giving them updates every time y'all walk in this room. I'm still going to work. I'm still taking care of these other kids. I'm still sitting. I'm still breathing. My eyes are open. I'm supposed to do that, and you're supposed to get an applause for it, when at the end of all of this, you walk away with a paycheck and I walk away with a bill. But I'm supposed to sit here and applaud you?
So how do we support? What do we do? Right? How do we do that other than trying to be compassionate, listening, trying to understand? Like what do we do?
I think it starts first on the clinician. Like, I need you to do some self-reflecting work and figure out who you are and how you're showing up in this space before you expect me to teach you a parable, right? Like, I can't be that for you. And I think sometimes that's, as a clinician, that's what we're kind of taught to look at. How worthy is this career? How much rewarding it is? And it is. But when we look at it as, I'm here to benefit from this doubly, I get the paycheck and the reward, then somebody's paying that bill. You know what I mean? And so you have to sit there and say, what can I do differently? And like I've said before, sometimes it's shut up, right? Just stop talking, just be quiet, right? Because it's not about you. And to be able to say, let me step aside, let you take all the space, right? And we know that in systems, it's hard to do that. Because like you said earlier, you got 90 babies and 4 people. How are you going to split it up, right? It's hard to sit down. But that's where we as individuals need to hold our systems accountable to more than just billing, right? So that we can say, no, I need to show up for this family. And it actually gets better outcomes, gets better satisfaction scores, gets better satisfaction for me as a clinician to want to continue to show up in this 90-bed unit and do the best that I can, right? And that reflection then opens up an idea and the creative process of thinking, okay, how can I do this across a diverse group of people? Kind of going back to how we started this, right? Because this was my perspective, which is valid for me, but it might not be valid for Tracy or for Mary, right? So how can we get together to figure out how can we build the system to help? Because what we're doing now is more of the same. Well, I'm just going to do an SDOH screen on admission. I'm meeting your needs. And if you didn't tell me your needs, that's on you, right? But it's not, like we said before, the fact that I know as a person that's seeking healthcare, if I answer yes or no to some of those questions, you're going to call CPS. You're going to do all of these other things. So I'm just going to lie and be like, yeah, I'm good. Even though I might actually be struggling with a need that you probably could help me with, but I'm not going to say anything because of the consequences that come from that on a system level. And like, it's one of these things where, like, kind of like we said before, the problem feels insurmountable because it's that large. But that's what the system wants. They want us to feel it's insurmountable rather than sitting there and go, I'm going to carve out this, I'm going to slice this up, and I'm going to do everything I can to do what this says. And then the next time I'm going to go to this slice, and then I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to build momentum with an intent of diversity, equity focused, trauma informed, compassion, all of the things. Because unfortunately, like you said, Tracy, we can't teach it. I can't put you in a lecture and just give you what's in my experience any more than a parent can do that for us at the bedside. And that's what makes it feel like it might never happen because it's so big. But we got to start somewhere, right?
Right.
You got to pick a pot and boil some water.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
the
I
system
could,
will have you thinking you got to boil the ocean in order to catch a win, and you don't.
No.
You have to pick a pot and boil some water, and then you'll have 2 pots of boiling water. And then Mary's got her 3 pots of boiling water going. And eventually the ocean will boil. But to say that if the ocean don't boil by Thursday, it ain't never gonna boil. Now come on now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Please stop.
Yeah. And never underestimate the power of, boiling water, being a role model, and walking the talk and figuring out and making mistakes, right? But because you just do, and then just demonstrating like what accountability looks like, as icky and uncomfortable as it feels. If you really want to boil that pot of water, you got to put some salt in there. You've got to do these other things that are going to help people see that, like, oh, look at that. Mary screwed up. She owned it. She repaired it, and she didn't die. Holy mackerel, and the more you do that, you begin to, like, you, Jess, and me are, always talk about this leaning into the discomfort. You begin to realize that discomfort, although it never feels good, there is something cool on the other side of it. So if you can, kind of squeeze yourself through that, it builds that skill set so that you can be that better role model. But it does feel daunting. But that's why we do these things, right? Pinky swearing and hanging together and like having these conversations and being courageous about asking questions, that can feel clunky, that can feel uncomfortable. And then getting answers. How wicked awesome is that? Different perspectives, different insights.
That's why we're here.
I wanted
right.
to say to the, like, I always think about like, you can't script compassion. I think that that's another thing that we always want is a script to something. You can't script it, but you can uplift it and make people aware of its place in our spaces. We got to get out of this idea that there's going to be a certain word that we say that is going to like make a parent or make a family member less traumatized.
Yeah.
It's going to make their historical trauma less if we say these 3 words. If I say these 2 words to Jessie, it's going to make her trust me implicitly with the life and the care of her. It's not a thing. It's never going to be a thing. But the same way that what is required of families is to show up and be consistent so that we can trust that you're going to take care of this baby when they discharge, you have to show up and you have to be consistent.
Yeah.
The same things that you want from us to prove to you that we are worthy of
Yeah.
our own children, you got to do those things to prove that you are worthy of my mental space, of my time, of my attention, of my child. Like, we got to let go of this thing that we're owed something. Nobody owes us anything. The thing that we're owed is our paycheck, and we got it.
Yeah.
You came to work, you got your paycheck. That is what you are owed. You're not owed my trust. Stranger danger. You're a stranger.
Yes.
Huh? Who else learned stranger danger at the tender age? You're a stranger. Stranger danger. I don't owe you anything.
Yeah.
I don't. The thing that you are owed, you get. Everything else is a bonus, and you got to be okay with whether or not that bonus comes, baby. You got to be okay, because the bonus might not come. It might not ever come. No, there is not a person that you've taken care of that might say thank you to you. It doesn't mean you didn't do a good job. It means they didn't have capacity to acknowledge what was happening around them because they were swimming and drowning and trying to get air through a freaking cocktail straw. And you wanted them to be like, well, while you're trying to blow air through a cocktail straw at 60,000 feet below the sea level, like, say thank you to me. Please stop.
Yeah.
Stop today. If you don't do anything else, don't do that anymore because it's too much.
Well, I want to thank you for your openness and your lived experiences, because I can promise you that, at least for me, there have been things that have been discussed today that will directly impact how I engage with families, right? I appreciate you for that aspect, and I can only hope that, as we said, it hits one, that hits a few more, that hits a few more, and that this is potentially how we make change. But I do, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I am not creative enough to even think this, but it just makes me think of I see our little babies now as these superheroes, and I want to have something for them, right? Like we had one family that every milestone the baby hit, they had an artist in their family and they would draw the baby in like the little Superman outfit or the Iron Man, and they were posted all over his room. And I just remember thinking, that would be a great children's book, right? For families that are in the NICU or whatever. Like I say, I'm not that creative, but her family member who was drawing these pictures, I was like, that is phenomenal. And so I will now forever look at our little babies in that way. So thank you for that.
I appreciate that.
She's one of the best humans on the planet. I stand by it, and I am so grateful for you giving us your time and sharing your story and your opinion. And I am hopeful that it's not the last time. Maybe we can corral you for another episode, because you don't have to do this work. You don't owe us this, right? And I want to, really just honor the fact that you share G's story and your story with us to make us better clinicians. So we are not owed this, but are immensely grateful for it.
Well, first of all, thank you guys. Jesse knows I'm so uncomfortable when people are like giving me accolades, because it's not, because to that point, I don't do it for that. Like I don't think that I think the reason for me that I show up in spaces is because I think I owe it to my son. I think I owe it to Gavin. I think I owe it to the moms who are sitting in these spaces that feel helpless and hopeless, and the dads, the other birthing and non-birthing parents, the grandparents who are like having to watch their kids go through this thing with their grandkids. Like, I think that the system requires silence in order to keep moving. The system requires silence from everybody across the board in order to keep doing the thing. And I think that sometimes the most revolutionary things that we can do is be quiet, but sometimes the other thing that you have to do is be loud, because it's always like, the small group and they're so loud, and how do we're louder. That's how you combat the thing, is you be louder than the other thing. And so, if one person hears something that I say and they're like, "Oh, that was pretty dope," great. If nobody hears it, great. If they hear it and they're like, "That's the dumbest thing I ever heard," great. At least you're thinking about it. I just want people to think about it differently and remember that there are people who are actually attached to this thing, and they're not attached to it for the time that they see you. They're attached to it forever. My birthing experience isn't something that happened on April 12th of 2009, and it never happened again. It happens to me every day. Every day. Every day I look at my son, it happens to me. That NICU experience happens to me every day. The language, the words, all those, it happens to me every day, because I'm navigating it for the rest of his life. For the rest of my life with him, I am navigating it. So these things don't leave us. And I just think it's really important for us to reflect on our responsibility in that space, because it's not whatever the just is, it's not just that. It is every day for the people who have to experience us healthcare people. They have to experience us not just that day, but for the rest of their days. They are experiencing us. And we get to decide if they experience us in great light, in amazing lighting, right? In 4K, or if they're experiencing us in like a 720, right? If they're experiencing us in darkness, we get to make that decision by showing up and doing things and asking questions and ensuring that people have the best worst days of their life, because it is the worst days of their life, but it doesn't have to be compounded. You know what I mean? So I appreciate you all letting me interrupt your space today, because it's always a joy. Anytime I get to hang out with Jessie, I'm always happy. Mary knows that I adore her. Tracy, when I listen to you guys on the podcast, I'm like, there she is. There she is. It's just, yeah. So I appreciate you guys letting me come hang out with you and say the things and ruffle the feathers feathers are supposed to be ruffled. Nobody wants
Yeah,
flat
it's
feathers.
boring to not.
So it's also just not attractive. It's not visually appealing, an unruffled feather. So get in there and ruffle feathers. I love it.
Can't think of a better way to close that out. We're going to end it on get in there and ruffle some feathers.
I agree.
Timeless Topics is Jesse Barnes, Tracy Bell, and Mary Coughlin. It is produced by Jesse Barnes and music from Carlos Bell. The thoughts and opinions shared here are those of the individual speakers and do not reflect the official policy or position for any of the speakers' employers or any other affiliated individual or entity.